Dating for us ADHDers can be a unique experience. A bumpy road at best and a roller coaster at worst. And a lot of us can struggle when it comes to crafting really healthy, positive dating experiences. In this video, I'm going to take us through how not to fuck up dating with ADHD. You know, I have lived through many embarrassing, cringy, downright awful dating experiences in life. Before I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, I started to notice a pattern of extreme ups and downs within my dating and my relationships. And then I kind of realized that other ADHDers have had similar experiences, but it doesn't have to be so extreme. We can get way more positives than negatives. We can face some really unique challenges. For a start, we can overshare a lot. We can jump into relationships way too fast because we're seeking stimulation, and we can tell our entire life story, every single feeling that we have, every single thought that's in our mind, and we can give way too much information and it can be overwhelming to other people. We can also have a hyperfixation and then boredom cycle. We can be intensely emotive and fixated on a single person and then lose interest really, really quickly. And as we hyperfixate, we can build this version of them in our head. And this in particular is a struggle because when you're trying to date, when you're trying to cultivate a healthy relationship, you can hyperfixate, put all your energy into it, and then burn out and lose complete interest. And it can be really confusing to your partner. This cycle in particular can be really, really unhealthy because we can build a version of them in our heads that may not even be realistic. At the end of the day, they're a human being, but we can hold people on a pedestal. And when we hold people on a pedestal, we can go into people-pleasing mode. We can become this person that does everything for them, no matter what, put our own needs aside. And then when they do something off character for the version of them that we have in our minds, then we can feel betrayed and let down. And then that hyperfixation, that raising them on a pedestal, people-pleasing, can wear out and we can disconnect from them quite significantly. With ADHD, we can sometimes get trapped in thought loops and we can ruminate. And we can ruminate on what we see as red flags or what we perceive to be as red flags. Because what can happen is we can ruminate on something that may have been completely innocent. So let's say maybe you're seeing a girl and they have a male friend. Maybe you can feel a little bit jealous and maybe suspicious. And next thing you know, because you're ruminating, you're convinced that your partner is a cheater, that they're going to break up with you. And you start to feel jealous and you start to convince yourself that you've seen this red flag, which isn't actually there. It's just your interpretation of it and your rumination making it worse. And then once that rumination burns itself out, then it can get to the rejection sensitive dysphoria, the RSD, that can kick in, which is the fear of rejection. So with these challenges in mind for ADHD dating, what can we do about this? Well, luckily, there are many things that we can do about it. I think the first step is to recognize your own patterns. You know, every ADHDer is different. I know that I make these videos on ADHD as a whole, but every ADHDer is different. ADHD symptoms vary from person to person. So it's really crucial to be able to understand yourself, how your ADHD manifests, and know what your patterns are, especially when it comes to dating and relationship patterns. The more that you know about your own patterns, the more that you recognize your own patterns, the more you'll be able to be aware of them and actually do something about them. The next thing that I would say is to work on your RSD, work on your rejection sensitive dysphoria. You know, being sensitive to rejection is something that we can all deal with, and especially as ADHDers. However, and I know that this may go against a lot of the ADHD content creators out there, but rejection sensitive dysphoria is not something that's categorically biologically imprinted onto our brain. So ADHD can be genetic, and the fear of rejection can be prevalent in people with ADHD, but there is no evidence that rejection sensitive dysphoria is hardwired biologically into an ADHDer's brain. What I mean by this is, this means that we can do something about it. This means that we can work through it. You know, there are a bunch of therapies out there, counseling, journaling, coaching that can help you work through these things. If you've watched any of my videos before, I'm not simply about saying, this is how you are, thanks, that's it. I'm about acknowledging challenges and working towards progress. So, especially when it comes to rejection sensitivity, there are so many benefits of being able to handle rejection the right way. The benefits of being able to handle rejection the right way are really immense. So there's a quote that I want you to take a look at. And bear in mind that this is not a ADHD creator or a psychologist, but I think it's relevant. So this is a quote by Alex Hormozy, of all people. And the quote is, "A lot of money sits on the other side of being willing to get rejected by strangers." He goes on to say, "Reaching out to strangers only makes you money. You either 1, get nothing and end up in the same position as you were before, or 2, you make money." And I think that this quote applies for dating and relationships. If you learn how to process and handle rejection, then getting through that fear will lead you to more benefits than if you simply don't learn to handle that fear. Because if you think about it this way, even if you're in a relationship, there can still be rejection. So you lose absolutely nothing by working on rejection sensitivity now. So I'm a big advocate for doing the work because the benefits of doing the work are immense. So a bit of philosophical wisdom from Alex Hormozy there. And I made a deep dive video on rejection sensitive dysphoria, which I'll link to above. And if you do want more videos like this, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Next, start to look at the long-term goals. I know that dating can be quite short-term and choppy, but really start to think about what you want in a relationship and externalize them. Think about not simply the way that somebody looks or acts, but like how you envision both of you working together. Like, what does your ideal relationship look like? Because once you can start to visualize that, then you can start asking yourself the question, what effort are you willing to make in order to get that relationship? There are many, many strengths in being in a relationship. Being part of a team can give you a much stronger position in the world than simply being single. This is why corporations exist and they make the most money in the world. It's not just single solopreneurs making all the money. So in order to reap the benefits of a relationship, ask yourself, what effort are you willing to put in order to get that? It's kind of like going to the gym. Being unhealthy is hard. Going to the gym and getting fit is hard. And you have to choose which hard that you want. One of those options has a lot of long-term benefits, but it's harder in the short term because ultimately you have a choice. You have a choice to decide if you want to adjust your behavior to suit someone that you like, or run the lottery and wait to find someone who appreciates you exactly how you are and there's no changes, but that is a 1 in a million shot. Oftentimes we can convince ourselves that dating and relationships are simply too hard and that we should be single forever. This is actually something that I've covered before called the lone wolf illusion. As we're dating, we can sometimes envision this perfect relationship. And then when it comes to spending time with an actual real life human being, we can snap into this sort of like, maybe I'm better off single because this is a lot of work. And this is what we call the lone wolf illusion. It's where we convince ourselves that we're better off alone, that we shouldn't have to do any work in a relationship. Sometimes people say, well, if it's meant to be, then it should be easy. But the reality is that all relationships involve some sort of work. You are two different people. And no matter how similar you are on interests or music or films or whatever, you are still fundamentally two different people with different experiences, different values, and every relationship involves work in making those two different perspectives work. So learning good communication and relationship skills are the best investment you can make in yourself. Relationship skills are applicable not just in romantic relationships and dating, but also social situations, friendships, work situations. Investing in yourself pays off tenfold. These skills are really crucial skills for so many different parts of life. And if you do want a deeper dive into relationship and communication skills, then make sure you join me on my free bootcamp, which I'll link to in the description down below. So taking that time to develop your skills is an investment that pays off tenfold. So in order to develop your communication skills, you can practice role-playing with a friend to help you prepare for dating scenarios. This could sound really goofy or kind of weird, but as ADHDers, we can struggle with communication. Our impulsive mouth can get us into a lot of trouble sometimes. So if you do struggle with that, practice, role play with friends, practice in front of a mirror, record yourself, visualize. There's a ton of tools that you can do. And some people may think that this is inauthentic or this is fake. But to me, growing your toolbox and putting effort into something that you want to work on for yourself that also has a benefit for your relationship, that to me is as authentic as it gets. I don't see how that could be any more authentic. So for me, building and practicing your communication skills is something that has ongoing benefits in your life. But communication skills struggle if your emotional foundation isn't solid. So work on emotional regulation to make sure that you improve your dating experiences. You know, as ADHDers, we can struggle hugely with emotional dysregulation, which is struggling to manage our emotions. That's positive and negative emotions. Emotional dysregulation leads to worsening ADHD symptoms, worse decisions, poorer communication. So regulating your emotions is foundational to pretty much everything. And I actually did a deep dive video on emotional dysregulation. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you over there.